Our second keynote speaker, Mr. Jean-Pierre Murray-Kline, is a serial entrepreneur, author, business and environmental technologist, change champion, and future thinker. Sounds a bit like an auctioneer. In his keynote talk, Going Once, Going Twice, you will need to prepare for increment bids as he unpacks influences pertinent to your sector, covering technological, social, environmental, and perhaps even some political items of interest. Learn about trends, how to perhaps reach future clients, and of course, we'll finalize the sale with a robust Q&A. Mr. Jean-Pierre Murray-Kline.
Thank you, sir. Good luck. Sambonani, molweni nonke. Goeiedag. Hello, everyone. How are you all today? A little bit tired, shy? No? Okay, thanks for the standing ovation. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to need that. Right. Right, so I'm a writer, I've got my notes, let's get straight into this. Great. What is a business and environmental technologist? What on earth is that? What type of career? Well, the truth is, I've actually made it up, but it's not a pseudo-career like car guards or politicians. I do real work, and I study people, nature, technology, environmentalism, and then I try to share information that's meant to help people make decisions, better decisions, both at home and also at the office, but I never ever tell people what to do. Now, a great deal of my time is used on studies and research, and there's about 18 different subjects which I frequently visit. But anything that can affect the trajectory of your future, be it at home or at the office, I may be studying it already. I'd like everyone now to please take out your cell phones. I'm going to do this as well. This is compulsory. I think the gentleman who was here has stolen my cell phone. Perhaps? Yeah, my cell phone has disappeared here. All right. Is that my phone? Well, that's the first. Perhaps you thought it was a gift. I don't know. Thank you. All right. It's always something new. All right, so everyone, please take out your cell phones, and if you kindly go to Google, and I'd like you to type in my full name, which is Jean-Pierre Murray-Kline, and it's quite a lengthy name, very difficult to fill in forms. This is compulsory, everyone, please, I need you to do this. So JEANPIERREMURRAY-KLINE, very lengthy. Now, you're going to find a lot on the internet about me. Have you all got it? Has it all loaded? Put your phones up in there just so I can see you're all with me. All right, we've got two people. Ladies and gentlemen in the back seats. Yeah, the cheap seats. There we go. All right, very good. Okay, done. So I'd like you to please scroll, and I'd like you to find the website jeanpierremurraykline.co.za and give that a click. Let me know that it's done. It's loaded. All right. Right, there we go. So very good. I'm going to do this as well. There we go. All done. Everyone who's done that, you've just helped me with my SEO, positive incoming links, so thank you very much. Now, you're going to find a lot on this website about me. I'm not going to go through everything today, but there are a few things that I'd like to share with you, perhaps the About page. So the About page you can read in detail if you'd like to learn more about me. But just a summary, I was born the same year the internet started. Any idea when that was? 1983, the proper internet. I came from a massive family. I'm the oldest of 9 children that we know of on my dad's side, and that I grew up with a rare eye condition, which is why I wear these nerd glasses. I started working at a very, very, very young age, and by the age of 19, I'd invoiced my first million. And since then, I've run many e-businesses and projects, and I've been lucky enough to travel to over 100 cities around the world. It's absolutely more, but at some point you stop counting. And either directly or indirectly, I've worked in 300 types of business sectors. Also more, but you eventually stop counting. What I'd like you to do, please, is click on the menu item now for me, Articles in Press, and then the sub-menu title, Articles. And I'd like that to load. While that's loading, let me explain why this is an important page to share with you today. It basically is going to share some of the technological, social, political, and environmental subjects which I like to cover. And I don't steer away from subjects politicians or businessmen, capitalists, communists may steer away from. So this often makes the function planners quite nervous, but I'm very respectful in what we do. So let's go through this. I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible. At the top is milling about the future. It's about the milling industry in South Africa. It's a massive industry, and they asked me to work out what was happening in their future. It's got to do with food security. Next down is the future of insurance. And I was actually asked to do this project by I2. There's 2 people here from I2. Yes, they always travel in twos. Where's I2? They've gone to the bathroom or the bar. No? All right. So we tried to work out the future of insurance. What's going to be insured in the future? What needs to be insured in the future? They were very curious about that. Digital transformation in South Africa. The way we do things in South Africa or Africa is very different to the rest of the world. A little bit further down is a similar article about AI. Again, we do things very differently when it comes to AI here. Will there be travel agents in the future? I was mandated by a very large travel agency to work out what is going to happen to their travel agents. They were very curious. A little bit further down, you'll see there's lots of space to mine. Now, this was a particularly fascinating project for me. I'm a Star Trek fan, and the mining industry was trying to work out what happens next. The mining industry is suffering a little bit at the moment, and they asked, well, JP, what's going to be happening to our sector, and where can we look at next? And we started to work on opportunities, not even in South Africa, Africa, or even Earth. We're talking about mining in space on asteroids, and it is a multi-trillion industry, and it's already underway. So if that interests you, it might be a good article to bookmark. A little bit further down, I'll give you money for your pee. Now, this sounds disgusting, but I wrote this with a professor at the University of UCT, and he's basically converting urine into something very, very valuable. A little bit further down, you'll see myself and Andile stuck in an elevator. This was taken on my birthday. We got stuck in an elevator, and while we were stuck, we were talking about the future of public transport in South Africa. And it's a major influence for business, and I don't know how many of you know about our road infrastructure, our railway infrastructure, how people get to work. But South Africa is never going to thrive until we sort out transportation network. The vast majority of our population are spending at least half of their salary just getting to work, and that's got to change. We've also got taxis, which are also an interesting dynamic. Hello, Peter. Who likes to complain online? None of you? Really? No one's ever reported any business to Hello, Peter? Okay, so I opened up a case with the Competition Commission against Hello Peter, and if you'd like to find out why, that's a good article to read. A bedtime story for us all, any of your parents. This basically talks about the evolution of all life on Earth and also where this planet is going to go in about 4 billion years. Underneath is Africa colonized the world. This was probably the article which upset the most amount of my followers on social media this year, and essentially I put out there the concept that everyone alive today is African, which is genetically is true. But I used the word colonized, and that upset a lot of people. But it was from the perspective and the looking glass of DNA. So yes, we're all actually African if you look at our DNA structures. And this article also explores some of the reasons how we migrated, how we ended up in Europe. Some of us had a bit of fun time with some Neanderthals, and then we eventually got onto boats and came back down to Africa and did some nasty things. But nonetheless, we are all African. And it also talks about how we were influenced with things such as volcanoes. Volcanoes played a massive role in developing our DNA. A lot of people didn't know that. Digital marketing, good article if you're interested in that. Artificial intelligence, AI. Now, I personally am focusing on human intelligence, But if you're interested in artificial intelligence and you really want something that's easy to consume, easy to understand, this is Mzansi's AI manual, and I published it about 8 months ago. Really interesting, easy to understand, will tell you the different types of AI, how they're being used, and where we're going to go in the future. The next one, also controversial, boycotting LGBTQIA, and they've since added a plus on top of that. So, do any of you participate in gay pride? No one would ever admit that at a talk. But this is an interesting article, especially with Donald Trump at the moment, and it's talking about, is there money to be made, essentially from this community of people, and should businesses be participating or not? What is 50 Rand for you? Would you behave better with 50 Rand? This article was a social experiment I did on South Africans. And what I did is I proposed that we pay domestic workers just 50 Rand more a day. And the internet absolutely blew up. I had a tremendous amount of hate mail and a lot of, I'm going to be blunt now, white men telling me that they would be cleaning their homes themselves, and with their wives laughing on the side. So this is really about how people behave online and how they feel entitled enough to misbehave online. Domestic workers in South Africa total about 900,000 people, and I essentially said it's a type of slavery at the moment in this country, and we do need to address this because it's a massive part of our community which are being abused. A little bit further down, mind the gap. Who believes in climate change? No one? I have a very shy audience here today. All right, okay. So the Mind the Gap is all about climate change. We made several promises. The Paris Agreement, where we are in South Africa, and what promises we haven't been doing. Don't rush into things. It's all about Russia. Two-part article, our relationship with Russia. It's got to do with a little bit with Zuma. But then also the second part, which I find more interesting, is about Russia itself. Fascinating country. It's one of the few countries where the sun is both rising and setting at the same time. It's got the most museums, the most trees, the most theaters. Very interesting. The arrogance, it's an interesting one. South Africa is being cannibalized. Now, while I was writing this, I actually learnt about, or it was rumored at least, about a tribe in the Midlands on your way to KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, that is actually still practicing this. And you should Google it, it's quite interesting. But this is about our infrastructure, which is being stolen, pulled out the ground, and sold just so we can put food on the table. Africa is being cannibalized. There's no vaccine for this. It's about not COVID, but the city of Johannesburg, which is in a really, really bad state. I believe some of us are from outside of Joburg. Lindeka, the inspiring, lovely young lady in her early 20s, and she is in 40,000 Rand debt. And a lot of our students in South Africa are in tremendous debt, which is why I did an article about it. It's a massive influence. And they've been egged on to go and do studies with the hopes that they're going to get a job in a certain industry, and they end up being a waitress. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a waitress. I've been a waitress, a barman, all sorts of things. But it's a massive influence in South Africa. Right, on to the second page. I'll go through this one very quickly. Losing control of yourself, your digital footprint on the internet, copyright infringement. If you like to copy and paste information on the internet which you haven't created, you are in fact being a criminal, and you may get a nasty email from an entity called Pick Rights, and they are issuing fines to all sorts of people. A little bit further down, the future of legal practitioners. Will there be lawyers in the future? Is anyone here a lawyer? I know the one keynote speaker had studied law. Any lawyers? All right, one lawyer. Okay, excellent. All right. The future of shopping malls, very important. Is South Africa a failed state? And this article explores some of the characteristics and similarities. SEO packages, and then you'll see a handsome man standing outside the United Nations. I was there lobbying the United Nations Security Council to investigate our government for corruption at the time there. The metaverse. Who's heard of the metaverse? It's where we're going to be living, playing, working, loving online. Perhaps some of you have already tried that, sir. Looks like the type, all right. Global warming. I was on an island and we got hit by a tropical storm while I was there. Global warming is seriously going to affect developing nations and island states a lot more. Next is who's colonizing in 2025? Any guesses? Again, it's another white man. But this is about going to space, to Mars. In my lifetime, we will be on Mars. And this is really talking about, have we learned from the past and how we're going to treat the new lands we land on? And who knows, we may even find some species there. Ignorance to the left, ignorance to the right. We've got a lot of the information we need to solve our problems today, but we just don't listen to it. E-security, a serious business responsibility, very important. Next one is called waiting for racists to die. I deal with the trend of racism quite often. You'll see that in my writing, and I did that article with Kede Bone. Next one is Cybercrimes Act of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, this article is incredibly boring, but if you're interested in it, please have a look at that. A little bit further down, you see I'm sitting with the beast, Tendai Mazwai, and we're talking about the future of sports. And the great news is if you don't like doing activities on the field and so forth, the future of sports involves a lot of sitting on the couch, and it's a very, very lucrative industry. A little bit further down, you'll see me with a face mask on. It was the height of COVID, and you'll see behind me our parliament, which still has its roof before we let a homeless person get in and burn it down. Do you know our parliament is currently a tent? It's just outside, just outside. E-behavior, you'll see I'm sitting with a political puppet. Not sure if you get any other types, but that's Chester missing. Then the final one, I think, this is quite important. How do I get South Africans to eat less meat? It's very difficult, but it's going to happen, unfortunately. I know we had the previous speaker talking about the industry, so I'm not going to poke too many holes at that. Automation 4.0, types of jobs in the future. Do you know what the safest job is in the future? If you want 100% job security, you need to become a pastor or a priest. Amen. Thank you, sir. Then there's a few more. The smartest country in Africa was one of my favorite articles. This is about Rwanda. I think they're an inspiration. A little bit further down, visit to Katu power plant, cloud technology. And then finally, is China helping us technologically or hurting us? All right. Thank you very much. You can put your phones down. I hope I didn't use too much of your data. All right, so the point I wanted to make by sharing that with you is I've got a macro overview of many influences. And if you read my work, I hope it comes across that I'm genuinely interested in people's well-being and obviously environmentalism and business, but specifically using business as a catalyst for positive change. But how does one plan for the future and for change? Now, there are two ways. One is called forecasting, and forecasting, very quickly, is when management sits with a bunch of data, and they take a look at that, and then they basically decide that the trajectory is not going to change too much, and they can make a reasonable prediction of the future. For example, the one example I like to give is if Helen Ziller likes to eat Kellogg's All-Bran Flakes, and she absolutely loves it. She consumes 2 boxes a month. The management at Pick n Pay, who are currently struggling at the moment, I'm sure many of you know. In fact, I saw some of their stock on an auction last week. Perhaps that was one of your auctions. Nonetheless, I digress. Pick n Pay can work out from that they can expect about 175 Rand from Helen Ziller on a monthly basis, because cereal is really, really expensive. From that, they can work out, are they going to have more income, less income, or about the same income? So those are the different types of options from them. The problem with forecasting is it makes no provision at all for significant alterations to data. And life is all about alterations, significant changes, multiple forecasts. Let's see. So there we have Helen Ziller and Gayton McKenzie. They've recently been seen running on Sea Point Promenade together. Doing what? Sharing their fitness experience with one another. Now, from this data, the scenario planner back at Pick n Pay can work out, is Helen Ziller going to use more of their product, less of their product, or the same amount of their product? And they can plot out 3 alternative scenarios. Now, this might sound like guesswork, but scenario planning is actually a real serious business. And it was invented or conceptualized by a gentleman called Herman Kahn back in the 1950s, which is 75 years ago. And he was working for Rand Corporation, and he was tasked with working out the potential of nuclear war for the US military at the time. Later on, scenario planning was popularized by Royal Dutch Shell, massive company in the 1970s. And in South Africa, the most famous scenario planner we've ever had is probably Mr. Clem Sunter, famous for his work at Anglo America and, of course, his books, Foxy Trilogy. And I've worked with Mr. Sunter for about 10 years or so. He's retired now for the second time. What I'd like to do today, and what my hope is, that I get everyone to leave today with a desire to change. Who woke up this morning with a desire to change? Very shy audience, all right. So a lot of people struggle with the concept of change, but I know many people are not perfectly happy with the way things are. Trying to identify the influences of change is where things get stuck. Also, people feel that they can't make a significant change in their lifetime. Perhaps they feel that they're too old. When it comes to technology, most people believe that South Africans or Africans are not very good at innovation or technology, or that we prefer to perhaps be led. Some even believe that we like our populace to remain ignorant, so they're easily manipulated. The thing with technology is it's leveled the playing field, everyone. If you share the view that we don't have leaders on this continent, or innovators, or change champions, you're incredibly wrong. Africa has actually had a long history of innovation and just plain being clever. On our continent, we invented and conceptualized mathematics. Who knows which country that came from? Egypt. All right. Does that feel like a class? Iron smelting. We did the first heart and penis transplant, fortunately not from the same person. 3D printed prosthetic limbs, that was us. The creepy crawly, M-Pesa, digital money. We, in fact, had digital banking, internet banking, before even Canada did. Computers for the blind, we did that. Oil from coal, probably not our best invention, but nonetheless, we did it. The Royfolk attack helicopter, very intimidating, scary-looking machine. PayPal, invented by a gentleman whose name I shan't mention today. The thumbs-up payment system, an alternative. Q20 lubricant. Coffee. Coffee is an African innovation, first invented to keep our politicians awake. Water purification, nanotechnology. Really impressive stuff here from Africa. The malaria vaccine. The list of things that we've actually done on this continent is quite endless, but of course so are the problems we have. The concept, what innovation has there been in your industry? So the concept of auctions probably dates back to the famous city of Babylon, 500 BC. The history of auctioneering in Africa has had its roots in both indigenous customs and also when we had European settlers and colonizers. During the colonial period, European settlers introduced formal auctions. At that time, it became the common, if not preferred, method of trade. Livestock, produce, and even land. This is what the textbooks would tell you. Unfortunately, it's also true that auctioneering played a horrible part in the slavery industry. Nonetheless, auctions rolled out in South Africa, Kenya, and Zimbabwe, and as countries gained independence, the auction industry in Africa blossomed. It evolved significantly. Markets in real estate, vehicles, and then later in arts and technologies. There's something fun about an auction, which sets it apart from your traditional trade or your cashiers, especially those at Checkers. It's also one of the best ways to fetch the best price for a competitive price. The most expensive item ever sold traditionally is considered the 1963 Ferrari 250 GTO, an incredibly sexy looking car. It got $70 million in 2018. In comparison, the most expensive item ever sold at an auction had a successful bid of $450 million, and that was Leonardo da Vinci's painting Salvador Mundi. And if you Google that, it's definitely not as sexy as the car. Countries like South Africa have very well-developed auction markets, and we're very well known for conducting large-scale auctions for vehicles and real estate, and even luxury items. The most expensive item ever auctioned in South Africa was the pink Star at 69 million rand, managed by Sotheby's Auctions in Cape Town. Is Sotheby's here today? No. I was just trying to work out who's going to buy drinks later. The first auction company in South Africa was probably CNA, not the stationery shop. It was a business by Ferreira and Company, and it was established in the mid-1800s for livestock and property auctions. But a lot has changed since then, ladies and gentlemen. In 2025, the biggest development is online auctions, web and social media marketplaces. And this has given many of the smaller players an opportunity to compete with the bigger players, sort of fishing in the same pool. Unfortunately, for those in the industry, it also allows untraditional entrants into your sector. Those who are just diversifying their income or their core service with off-the-shelf online services. It's this threat that I think you need to be most aware of and prepare to mitigate if you wish to maintain or build your market share. The key trends right now, obviously digital transformation. You're experiencing, and we are experiencing, a rapid expansion in Africa of mobile technology, putting businesses online, changing the way we trade. Nearly fully automated solutions for listing stock, selling, and helping engage with buyers, all at the touch of a button on a web browser or app. The most successful companies in auctioneering, I believe, in Africa, in the next 10 years, are probably not even going to be auction companies. Now, I'm an environmentalist. I'll unpack a reason why in just a moment. I'm an environmentalist, so I always need to talk about renewable energy. So government and businesses are, of course, investing in solar and wind projects, not enough, unfortunately, all to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. Of course, our Minister of Minerals and Resources is still championing fossil fuels, so we're doing things a little bit backwards. But my point is, there's a massive shift in the marketplace, and I think you should expect a reciprocal change in your client base. What sort of things might be sold when we no longer want to buy a car that runs on fuel? Do you think there's going to be as much of a market for those beautiful vehicles outside? Has anybody tried to get a Gen Z interested in a classic car? What are we going to do when houses don't have solar panels? There might be partnership opportunities here. But for certain, there's going to be an increased demand in green assets, and for others, not so much. Here's a question, and I really would like to see if anyone's got an answer. Do you think there'll be as many petrol stations in the next 20 years? Yes? No? I did a very interesting article. It's no longer on my website. It was called Your Last Tank of Fuel. I guarantee you there won't be. The time is coming. What's going to happen to those buildings, to the land, to the businesses? Are they going to be liquidated? Then there's climate change, and this is especially going to affect those who wish to work in livestock. South Africans, our agricultural sector, in about the next 3 to 7 years is the window I've given it, I expect to see change drastically, and for the good. Urbanization and industrialization, development. South Africa is hopefully turning into a construction site. Many more people are going to be living in towns. There's going to be changes to our transportation networks, especially our railway network. And getting goods to our clients in the future, I believe, will cost less and be far easier. A youthful population and workforce. Africa is going to have the youngest population in the world. In fact, in 25 years, the majority of our population on this continent will be under the age of 21. The main point to consider here is the generations that follow us are going to own far less new things. The subscription and circular economy are going to increase. When it comes to compliance, I see a lot of your work is done on POPIA, and that's wonderful, but I see very little evidence of work being done with things related to cybercrime and evidence around that. Any of your websites that gather, process, store information, certainly those that process funds, need to be as protected as possible. Your businesses are subjected to hackers all the time. It's just a matter of time. Everyone, from your CEO to your secretary, is duty-bound. Cybercrimes Act, the Information Regulator. And what's quite important to remember is those acts don't hold just the business responsible, but also individuals within the business. if you do want to do a security audit, I suggest Cyber Defenders. You all know that WhatsApp group Sonia's got? Is anyone on that group? Yeah, just one person? All of you, okay. Does it detail your cell phone number? Yeah. How about a profile picture? Does it show a profile picture? Do any of you ever send voice notes on them? Okay. Those are all opportunities for cybercrime. Right now, there's a tremendous wave of people impersonating our identities, and everything on there is what they need. Phone number, a picture, and your voice. Do any of you get phone calls from time to time, and you pick up and no one speaks to you? Never, ever talk into that, because they're recording your voice to steal your identity. Finally, not that my list is exhausted, but I only have 3 hours today. I think that's what the organizers gave me. Sonia? No, I'm just joking. I've got about 15 minutes left. The future of money, very exciting. Digital money, ladies and gentlemen. E-payment systems, platforms, cross-border jurisdictions, very exciting. I think this is the most positive area for you, definitely. It's going to increase your global reach, foster transactions, transparencies. Do any of you accept Bitcoin yet? I don't understand why not. It's definitely something you may wish to pursue. For future clients in your industry, and this is if you do things right, you can look forward to increased accessibility. Technology is going to allow for your much wider reach for your audience. Enhanced user experience. Online auction platforms are already offering very user-friendly interfaces, although I did Google some of the industries and they haven't yet caught up. Improved transparency. Technology can enhance your transparency, your trustworthiness, especially of the businesses and those that are working in it. Perhaps tackle that negative reputation I've heard a lot of you people talk about. So when will this future arrive? Well, for many, it's already here. Websites like eBay, Sotheby's, Christie's, they all provide user-friendly platforms for conducting online auctions. Facebook, please remember that name. They've got 4.2 billion clients, and very soon I think they're going to be entering your market. BidSquare, AuctionZip, all doing streaming, and their clients can track their auctions online. There are some auction companies playing with blockchain technology. This can verify ownership. It's very, very helpful. You no longer have to be accused of tampering with odometers on your cars. There's lots of new technologies, and I'm not aware of any business in South Africa that's currently developing an app or a website that employs all of these. And I don't know why. And I think the first that does is going to have something we call a We Buy Car moment. More common in use, we've got augmented reality or AR, creating your previews. Things are a little bit more complicated with other businesses, and they're trying with narrow AI, which is very good with predictive analytics, trying to forecast the value of trends. But I think I'd like to encourage everyone to try and study some of the industry leaders, especially the global ones like Sotheby's and Christie's auctions, or any business you think that is innovating. It's always good to look at the leaders. I really enjoyed Heritage House auctions and Cop Art. They're quite interesting. They deal with salvage car parts. BidSpotter, AuctionZip, Katiwiki, very interesting one. Ritchie Bros, they deal with heavy equipment like tractors. Phillips Auctions, they deal with some antiques and collectibles. In South Africa, I really liked, and I hope I'm saying this name correctly, Accor. Yes, Accor. And then there's GoBid, which is doing quite well with taxis. I'm not sure if they're a member, though. I didn't see the badge. So what needs to be improved in your industry? Just going to let the slides sit for a second so you can read. I'm sure some of you have seen some of these before. So the vast majority of complaints in your sector are global in theme. And I had to speak about the elephant in the room today. It's part of the influence. Many people online are calling you thieves. The staff don't know what they're doing. Took too long to do anything. Not transparent, not responding. Completely unethical in auction practices. Take too long to give deposits or refunds back. These are all complaints about one auction house in South Africa. And Google said this was one of the top 5. There are also some of your suppliers who are saying some things about you online. The biggest complaint I found was that you're not settling your accounts. I actually, 2 months ago, had an auction company contact me and become a client and breach a contract. I'm not going to name and shame them today. Now, I understand for the most part, each and every one of your competitors. I need you to remember, should you plan to be around for the next 10 to 15 years, and I hope some of you do, your biggest competitor is not in the room today. They've in fact just started to work at WhatsApp or Facebook or Amazon or just leaving high school. How do you survive and how do you gain market share? My simplest advice is you need to become a technology company. The technology that is needed to compete globally is costly to set up and also costly to maintain. Some of you, I'm sure, have already tried. To compete here in South Africa or Africa at large, there's a little more wiggle room because the big players haven't really rolled out the red carpet yet. So there is some opportunity to lay down a foundation. However, the price tag is still outside the reach of most people, and this is why I highly recommend collaborations, sharing risk, sharing rewards. So what can technology do for you right now to help? I think the first thing you need to focus on is changing the narrative, portraying a good experience, a brilliant alternative to other methods of buying and selling. And you can leverage social media. Now, I don't think social media works for everyone. Think of an industry, perhaps a crematorium. I've never seen anyone like a crematorium. So that's one bit. But nonetheless, I hope you get my point. I don't believe, I would like you to use platforms like Instagram and Facebook to showcase interesting, non-mainstream items, share success stories, that's the most important. And you can also use it to engage with potential bidders. There's a lot of scope to grow there. Regularly post content for upcoming auctions, but also do interest posts. I really like what your organization's doing for Meet the Bidders, Meet the Auctioneers. The socials can help your industry rewrite the negative narrative. Brand awareness and a massive collaborative effort can be done by your organization, or perhaps another organization set up for that purpose. Whatever platform or organization you decide to use to drive that narrative, they need to have a tremendous digital footprint. And your organization only has 4,500 followers, I think, on Facebook Business. I personally have 99,000, and I'm not bragging, but just to give a comparison. Another comparison, Property 24 is on 292,000 Facebook. To run a really good social media campaign in-house or with this initiative, I'm going to summarize it now, it's going to require at least 3 teenagers, 2 adults, and 1 more teenager to deal with negative online mitigation. But my biggest point is you're going to need a social media boosting budget of nothing less than 20,000 per month. And this is just for social media, for ad spend. The team is going to have to know how to develop text, develop images, and prepare videos. They also need to be an expert at strategy. That has to be set up for a year. You could speak to a web marketing expert such as myself or any other that you find on the internet. The main thing you need to punt, I'll say it again, is your success stories. Those are what people need to see. You need to tackle a diverse range of social media platforms and remain consistent in your messaging. Natural listings on search engines. For those of you who don't know what SEO is yet, shame on you. But it's the magic that's done with computer nerds to help websites feature for search tags or search phrases for free. The more that you identify, the more you compete with, the more free listings you get. You're, of course, going to need to hire another nerd for that. Any single business in this room can dominate Google. It's just a matter of costs. You can offer both website and app options. I know that was discussed today, but I want you to remember that people are sick to death of downloading another app, and they cost a fortune to set up. Apps are also only really needed if people are going to frequently use your service. That is the only reason it would justify the cost of an app. But I imagine your number of return clients are equal or less than those of first-time buyers. So you should focus on new clients. Either way, people are more likely to try a website first. And the only advantage apps really have nowadays are in terms of capabilities over a website or offline capabilities. But we now have HTML5, which can do pretty much everything an app can do. Don't underestimate email marketing. I know a lot of you have got subscriber lists on your website. Keep that up, but please make your templates interesting. Virtual previews, very powerful, unfortunately very costly, but many clients love that experience. The same goes for online events and webinars. Clients love these opportunities. And there's many off-the-shelf solutions which you can purchase on a monthly basis. Also think about making it stand out. Hire a comedian, an influencer. Barry Hilton or Temba Robinson would do very well. There's paid positions on Google as well. PPC, AdWords, very, very costly if you've tried that. I only recommend the service if it's an extremely profitable service or product that you're trying to sell, or it's a limited campaign. Data analytics, if you enjoy that kind of thing, or you can hire another nerd. The rise of online auction platforms and marketplaces, ladies and gentlemen, like eBay, Bid or Buy, which is now called Bob Shop, I think, allow users to bid anywhere in the world, reducing the need for physical attendance and having to get stuck in traffic. I really do believe the future of your industry will involve and eventually materialize into just a handful of businesses, each offering a unique approach to the way they find clients, engage, and ultimately deliver the product. There's going to be an expanded group of hybrid businesses, such as we see with the state agencies now also offering auctions, and also non-industry players hosting auctions, taking a piece of your pie. To end today, I'm going to offer 3 other nuggets, nothing to do with technology. The first one I want to do is encourage you to really work on value-added ideas. Like what? Take a fresh look at those complaints, please. Come up with something like in-house insurance, after-sales support, logistics and shipping, inspections, authentication. Gosh, you could even do a seniors day and pick them up from an old age home, or target parents buying cars for their first child. The second idea, become a champion of your industry. It's imperative to speak well of your industry and those that work within it, even if they're your competitors. This is part of what is needed in changing the negative narrative, which is out there. Like with tourism, the best ambassador for South Africa is not Trevor Noah. I know his foundation was mentioned earlier, but it's you. It's the people in this room. My final tip is probably the most important. Diversification. For the most part, the people in this room and also the people using your services are of a certain gender and race. The business in this room that first introduces isiXhosa and isiZulu, or something specially for ladies, is immediately going to have a massive advantage to a new market. With that said, the sale's done, sold. So I've got a few minutes for questions on any of the subjects which I study, perhaps anything I've mentioned today. Please don't be shy. This is a very quiet audience today for a Friday. For auctioneers, yes.
Does the gentleman have exact, no, loud enough, I'm an auctioneer. All right. Does the gentleman have exact dates in 10 years' time where the auction industry is going to die?
I don't think you're going to die.
Yes, we have got the date. It is June the 2nd, 2031.
I think your industry is just going to become more competitive with non-industry players and Facebook.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
And I want to sincerely appreciate the presenter, as most of the highlighted has actually been very, very impactful concerning bidding. As we all know, that in auctioning, bidding involves raising the current price with the goal of being the highest bidder, which include registration under certain rules and bid confidentiality. Now, my question is, how do you, as an auctioneer, address certain mistakes by auctioneers to bidders, i.e., like in cases of overestimation of certain equipment? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. I think organizations such as the one that invited me to speak today should take on that responsibility. I'm not from within this industry, but it's a collective effort to make sure that together you uphold the standards of your industry and speak to your colleagues. Yeah, that would be my best advice. I thoroughly believe in collaboration and communication. So have you noticed a competitor in your industry that's creating shenanigans and making things unpleasant for you? Let's hear the truths. Yes, I think the smile is a yes. I would just encourage you to reach out to them directly. And if they don't listen to you, well, try Hello Peter. I don't know. Speak to your organization.
Right, we have another question in the back of the room.
Good afternoon, Jean.
Hi, sir. Hi.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the great insights that you put forward today. I've got a company called Anderson Jordan Auction. And then for the last 6 months, I think most of the things you mentioned, I'm trying to build them inside the business. We've started a platform that handles mortgages to support much of what we do, called Car Bridge, to implement the technology in the auction business. At the same time, we've developed a robot called Anderson Jordan Assistant to try and retain much of the information of the market and understand our auctions. Now, my question is, I wanted to find out, how can we build up all these ideas collectively into one platform that can work effectively and connect all this into this new future of technology?
Okay. Thank you for that question. In short, I think you're just asking, how do you get an edge with the technology? Yes? Is that the summary?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. You want me to give you that answer in front of all your competitors? Or do you want,
Maybe give it to him privately.
do you want to pop me a mail? Yeah. I think the advice that I give publicly is for you to take some time and look at industry leaders on a global scale and emulate and build upon that. But if you've got some specific questions, please pop me a message on my website or social medias. I'd love to chat to you more. But that's a complicated question. I'd need to know about your business in order to give some custom advice.
We have another question in the front of the room.
I brought my own questions as well, so there were some notes I made from the previous speakers. Yes.
Thank you very much for that informative presentation. As a third world country, I understand that we are not very adaptive to change, such as technologically related issues. How much can we learn from first world countries, and how much of that can assist us in terms of our evolution as a third world country?
Thank you. I don't believe South Africa is a third world country. I think we're somewhere in between, and I definitely don't want to be looking at some of the first world countries at the moment. A few reasons: they're setting really bad examples, but that's a talk for another day. And the other reason is legacy systems. They've got technology which has been developed for a very long time. South Africa, we don't have legacy systems. We don't have these old pipes which we need to rip out and do new foundations. We're a really young democracy. We've got a really good technology foundation in this country, and we can leverage that. I think that it's just about the will to get our hands dirty and get stuck into it. But please don't look at first world countries at the moment. So yeah, we do things very differently here, and we should. All right.
Any other questions?
Then if I may, I just want to make some points on the previous speakers. Not that I like picking on colleagues, but there was a gentleman speaking about website marketing and things such as impressions. And I just want to point out a few things which I think are important when you're looking at these things. Impressions, don't get too excited about impressions, ladies and gentlemen, because an impression is basically just a quick feature on a search result out of approximately 24 if you're on Google. So always ask for more details. Also, there's something called click-through rates. This is how many people are actually visiting the platform's websites per click. Bounce rate is also very important. So yes, they may be getting lots of visitors, but I promise you, if you ask them what their bounce rate is, it's normally around 60 to 70%. So that's good things to ask platforms which are trying to sell you marketing. Space on banner, or I could call it it's affiliate marketing. Ask for this information before you buy banner space. Then I've got 2 more points. The township economy, it was mentioned by a previous speaker. We've got 500 townships in South Africa, about 9 million people living there. I think that was probably the best idea I've heard maybe in the last few months to use your industry to tackle that. Tremendous opportunity there. And then there was somebody who wanted to avoid setting up another WhatsApp group, yes? I think that your organization, your holding organization, I love the idea of sharing potential stock, but perhaps put it as a back end to the organization where you can just simply upload and have your own little spot there. Car dealerships do something quite similar, and it's not an expensive thing to add to a website. Those are my nuggets on the other speakers. Are we done? Yeah, bonga. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.